Your mind doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. Therefore, when you imagine yourself going through a certain scenario or a memory, your body reacts as if it is happening now. How does that relate to healing trauma? When you imagine yourself going through a scenario that had really hurt you in the past, you can diffuse the emotions behind it. And what will that do for you? That will free you from the emotions that you've been carrying throughout your whole life. In today's episode, we're going to be going deep into why that can truly transform your life from the inside out. But before we begin, you already know what we're going to do. Take a deep breath in with me right now, and a deep breath out. Let me tell you a little bit about my story. I was truly trying to find ways of getting rid of fear and anxiety, to the point where I was willing to do whatever it took to make those changes happen. I literally went from lying down in the middle of the streets to dancing in public, to overcome fears, to get rid of that heaviness that I was carrying within me. Did that free me? Yes, it did in some sense, mentally. But physically and emotionally, it didn't. I found myself constantly feeling these heavy emotions, no matter where I went, no matter how far I got. The crazy thing was, I needed to learn how to actually truly let go of these emotions. Through something as simple practicing of going back into the memory of what I experienced and what really created these feelings within my body, completely freed me. And when it completely freed me, I found myself living differently, walking differently, talking differently. If I could say something, the one message that I could share with the world, it would be this. Healing is so powerful that you can really change your life, and not just yours, but everyone that's around you will be impacted by it. The way you show up for people, the way you show up for your kids, the way you show up for your partner, the way you show up for people that, follow you, that are loyal to you. Ah, man. But it's probably one of the hardest things you can do, especially if you try to do it on your own, because trust me, I was trying to be my own therapist for years until I actually reached out to someone that could help me with it. You see, how it works is we go through life experiencing pain. That pain continues to live on within us, and it acts as like a filter, like a camera filter, like a lens. We perceive the world using those lenses. So if we carry a lot of fear and pain and trauma within the body, we use that as a means of seeing the world a certain way. When you let go of that emotional charge, your whole view and perspective of the world changes. You see opportunities around you differently. You see people differently. You attract different relationships. You are no longer attracted to people that are bad for you. Now, there's no such thing as bad, but what I mean is unhealthy. People who are in pain. You no longer find pain attractive. And that takes work to do, and that's something I'm working on as we speak. But let me just tell you something. For me to get to a stage where I was so afraid of putting myself out there, to the point where now, literally, look, 2 cameras, 2 lights, microphone, sharing, expressing, being authentic. It was a journey. And I want you guys to know, the real changes didn't come from me exposing myself to my deepest fears in public. The real changes came from me healing. And if I could really share the one message that I truly believe that could change the world, it would be this. Heal yourself and watch your whole identity shift overnight. You won't even believe it. You won't even believe it, but you'll see it. When you see it, that's when you'll believe it. So how does this process work? You're probably wondering, right? When you feel heaviness, anxiety, emotions, loneliness, whatever it may be on a day-to-day basis, if you sit long enough with that emotion, you will see the root of it. This is something that you have to practice. This isn't something that you can naturally just do by sitting with the emotion. The subconscious mind has like a protective mechanism where it will do whatever it can to distract you from those emotions, because those emotions remind you of death in some sense. What do I mean by that? In those moments where your life felt threatened, those emotions were lodged into your body, being like, okay, cool. For us to never feel like this again, we must do X, Y, and Z. We must stay away from anything that will trigger this feeling. So you walk around life constantly tiptoeing like you're on eggshells, not knowing why. Then you convince yourself of these stories of I need to achieve X, Y, and Z, because when I do, then I'll feel better about myself. I'll feel more free. I'll feel more light. I'll feel more easy. I'll become the person that I need to be. But the truth is, those moments are temporary. After you achieve it, you almost feel the same, which is painful. Because a lot of people say this, and you usually, even when I used to hear people say this, I used to think, you already got it. That's why you're saying it. Until I started achieving some of the things that I never believed I could achieve, then I realized the fears, the feelings, those heaviness, the emotions, they don't just go away. You have to find out what the root is and pluck it out from the root. And when you go back to the memory, your mind doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. And when you re-experience the trauma within the mind, the body sees it as you're experiencing it again. And all those emotions that you lodged within your body, that you stored within your body for years, comes out. You find yourself crying like a baby. You know that ugly face we make when we cry? You find yourself crying like that. The difference is, it's a bit traumatizing to go through it. It almost shocks your body. Like, whoa, I did not know I'm carrying this much emotion from something that happened 15 years ago. But the difference is, you complete the memory. You see, in that moment, you needed someone to come and hold you and tell you everything's going to be okay. And you might have not received that. It doesn't matter how hard, how tough you are today, but in that moment, you were just a child. You needed someone to come and pick you up and hold you and tell you everything's going to be okay. You're safe now. And I know you felt alone, but just know that you're not alone anymore. I'm here. So many of us needed those moments. We didn't get them. So what happened? We suppressed the memory, we suppressed the emotions. Now we find ourselves walking through life with the same pain. We draw in experiences and people that reaffirm and reinforce the pain that we experienced as a child. For example, I suffered a lot with abandonment. So what happened? I got into relationships or situations where I was constantly abandoned. If I saw a healthy person versus someone who's emotionally unstable, I was drawn physically, emotionally, sexually to someone who's unavailable. Because why? That's familiar for me. The healthy person I was blind to. It's mad how pain works. How do you actually do this? That's probably what you want to know, right? You probably listen to this, right? Minhaz, I need to know. And I'm going to find you something. Hold on. Give me a second. This book right here. It will change your life forever. Trust me when I tell you this. If I could share one thing with the world, it will be this. You really want to free yourself, break out the matrix, you free your heart first. Free your heart first. Because everything else is an illusion. We convince ourselves once I achieve X, Y, and Z, I'll be free. But those are illusions. Those are man-made ideas to help you stay on the rat race in some sense, where you're chasing materials to fill this void that you have within you. But the truth is, just like the picture shows, right? It's like a puzzle piece. That is what is missing. And the missing puzzle pieces, those memories that you have lodged within your body have not been completed yet. So when you go back into the memory, the brain doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. So when you go back in there, what happens is you heal yourself, you complete the memory, you become the person that you needed when you were 6 years old, when you were 12 years old, when you were 15 years old. You pick yourself up, you hold yourself, and you give yourself that comfort and that love that you needed as a child. You come out of it and you're thinking, what the heck? That was intense. I did not know I'm carrying all of these emotions within my body. I cried like a baby. You're going to be paranoid. Did everyone hear me crying like that? You come out of it almost like, so now what? And this is where the game changes. You find yourself walking, talking differently. Last time I did this, and my life changed, it was based around my dad. I came out of the memory. It took a couple of hours, I can't lie. It's hard. It's hard work to do on your own. But if you have a therapist, they can literally take you there immediately, because the subconscious mind has a protective mechanism. So if you go there, you most likely won't be able to get to the root cause on your own. You need someone to show you how it's done. And once you see how it's done, you can try it on yourself. But then again, look, if you feel like you're willing to get this book, buy it and try it. Do you know what I mean? And if anything, this can change your life. It's like that scene, I don't know if you guys watched the movie Batman, right? Where he has to visit the memory where his parents were killed, because he's controlled by this anger and this rage where he's trying to seek for his parents' killer, and he's almost willing to do anything to get them. And he realizes that this pain is actually holding him back from his power. It's controlling him. He has no control over his emotions because he carries his rage inside of him, and he feels like it's his fault that his parents died. So what does he do? He goes back into the memory and faces it fully. That alone is enough for you to heal. But where you want to complete the memory is by ending it in the brain. And that's what I mean by the brain doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. So when you go into a memory and you complete it, your brain thinks it was completed, it was fine. Someone came and picked you up and comforted you. You are not alone. We do not need to mark that memory as a traumatic memory. And when you diffuse the emotions from the body, it is no longer controlling your way of thinking. The lens that you carry, it just drops. It fades away. Alhamdulillah. I hope this helps one of you guys out there, man, because the world needs this, man. The world needs this. I see so many people around me that are struggling, suffering because they have pain and trauma that they haven't healed yet. So grab this while you can, yo. Grab it while you can, read it. And if you struggle to do it, I'm going to put a link down below where you can basically reach out to someone who's qualified by the author, Teal Swan, if you don't know her. She's a very spiritual coach in some sense, and she made this process, right? And it's a very similar process to healing trauma, but it's got more detail in it, right? Yeah, I'll put a link down below where you can find a practitioner in your area or jump on a Zoom call with them and actually have a one-on-one session with these people, because it's worth it. Trust me, it's worth it. You do it once, it'll be a bit pricey, it's like 90 to 100 pounds, but do it once and you will know how to do it on your own. Or if you're brave enough, do it on your own. That's how I did it. I did it once or twice, but when I did it with a practitioner, I realized the process and how serious you can take it, how deep you can go. I'll be real with you guys. There was times where I sat with my emotions for hours, 4 or 5 hours, until I hit the root. That's the level of commitment you need to have. But when you come out of it, your life changes. Your whole world changes. Confidence from the inside out, not from the outside in. That's the illusion that we're being sold. So I hope this helps one of you guys. Other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you like, drop a comment down below. I'll catch you guys soon. Assalamu alaikum.